For Central, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, has announced a staggering recovery of 37.44 billion naira and $2.35 million in 2025 alone. These recoveries came through asset seizures and forfeitures, making it one of the Commission's most significant annual hauls to date. But what does this mean for the fight against corruption? Is this a turning point or just another headline?
Well, take note that this comes in as the ICPC also confirmed on Tuesday that it has received a formal petition from Alhaji Aliko Dangote through his lawyer against the CEO of the NMDPRA, Alhaji Farouk Ahmed, over misuse of public funds for personal purposes. Well, besides that, there are also many other cases that has gotten Nigerians wondering if truly the ICPC is a body that fights corruption. But let's not just ask these questions. Let's ensure that we hear from the horse's mouth. And to unpack this, we have the head of media and public communications at the ICPC, Mr. John Okor Odey, who joins us live from our Abuja studios. Good morning, and thank you so much for being here. Okay, so I think the very first question in our quest to ensure and find out if the anti-graft agencies are truly at war with corruption, or it's a case of selective, in quotes, amnesia, as some have put it, when it comes to fighting corruption. Can you please help us with the confirmation that the ICPC are indeed ready and set to ensure that it clears Nigeria of corruption, regardless of who, whether your status is that of a national office holder, public servant, or a senior advocate? It doesn't matter. Can you help us with that, if it's really true?
The answer to that is pretty simple. There is no record anywhere to show that the ICPC has done otherwise. The ICPC was set up to do just that, and it is doing it and will continue to do so. I am not aware of any accusation against the ICPC that the ICPC has ever shied away from carrying out that responsibility. The ICPC is poised to continue the fight against corruption, regardless of who you are. The Act setting up the ICPC does not say it should be selective. It therefore is not selective. As long as the matter is in the interest of the Nigerian people and the Nigerian state, and it is brought to the attention of the ICPC, or the ICPC finds out on its own through evidence-led investigations, through petitions, through whatever means. The ICPC, under the leadership of its previous chairman and this present chairman, Dr. Musa Adamu Aliu,
thank you very much,
is ready and has always been ready to fight corruption without fear or favor. It has not changed, and I don't see it changing anytime soon.
All right. Thank you very much for that confirmation again. But now let's get into the details. 37.44 billion naira, $2.35 million in 2025 alone. Let's talk about if you can give us a breakdown of the sectors that these recoveries came from and the individuals that were involved in the looting of these assets.
Well, I cannot give you a breakdown of the sectors or the individuals involved. I can only tell you that these recoveries represent values that come from forfeitures, that come from traced assets, that come from restrained assets. Through the ICPC's attempt to block illicit financial flow, or efforts to block illicit financial flow, to trace projects, constituency and executive projects, and to restrain public funds from being diverted or converted to personal funds or other sources. The detail you're asking for, I do not have the authority to release.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I cannot give you the specific details you're asking for.
Okay. Without going into specific details, we would like to know how much or how these assets, how the haul was calculated, the figures that were given. How much percentage of that record haul is in cash, and also how is the calculation done? Because are you also adding a valuation of the assets that were recovered, the physical assets that were recovered to this record haul? And what made it a record year? Why is it different from last year?
Okay, permit me to look at our performance infographics here. Now, actually, based on projects appropriated for in the national budget, other issues that were reported to us, transactions that were reported to us, the ICPC set a target for itself, which was about 80 billion, looking at issues surrounding what was presented. And at the end of November, this recovery does not include December. At the end of November, this was what was recovered. In terms of Naira value and the dollar you saw there. So that was exactly what happened. And if you look at 37.44 billion compared to 80 billion, we are saying there's still a lot we have to do. And we are not going to rest. We'll continue doing that.
So what 80 billion, just to clarify, what 80 billion are we comparing it to? Because I know that in 2024, the reports were that you recovered 29.7 billion naira. So just to help with the clarification of that.
The 80 billion was what we set out to look for from the reports we got for this year. But so far, 37 billion have been recovered. There are other cases that are still ongoing. That is why I cannot talk about some of them. Some of them are in court. So I'm restrained. Okay. Some of them are in court, but by the time they are determined, we are still in December. December has not ended. Maybe these figures will rise. But what we have here is as at November. Okay.
All right. Beyond these recoveries, we have a lot of monies being recovered here and there. And one would ordinarily wonder, yet the presidency still goes ahead to, borrow money and so on and so forth. So can you share with us these recovered assets or monies? Are they given to the government? Depending on the court's case or judgment, are they returned to those who own them? And is it reinvested in one way or the other back to the public? Because we've barely seen any information from the ICPC, especially press releases that highlights the fact that XYZ properties were recovered and thereby they'll be put out on auction or whichever way. So do you want to help us with that?
For properties that are recovered, those that have final forfeiture on them and we have court order to auction, we advertise. And we get auctioneers to bid for and auction these properties. We always advertise them. If you go to our website, you will see them. They are always made public. And as to where these recoveries, whether the recoveries go to the government or the people or other people, there are processes involved in managing recoveries. Clearly spelled out processes. You recover, it goes into the recovery account, and it goes to government. That's what the ICPC does. What the government does thereafter with it is up to the government. If the court says it should go back to ABC sources from where it was initially taken, the ICPC obeys the court order. It's as simple as that. Otherwise, there's a recovery account with the CBN, and it goes there.
All right. Now, beyond the recovery of funds, there was also some good news, at least for members of your staff, and it said that for the very first time, I'm trying to get the exact, yes, the cost of living adjustment, that you successfully secured the cost of living adjustment for, to improve welfare for your staff. Can you talk to us about that?
Yes, I can tell you about that. Before now, the cost of living adjustment allowance was not something that the ICPC enjoyed. No, there is inflation. We all know that there is inflation in the system. And usually the government, not just the government of Nigeria, governments all over the world, try to cushion inflation for public servants. I think it also happens in the private sector. I do not work in the private sector, so I do not know. But I think it also happens where from time to time, to enable workers have a sense of belonging and reduce the stress on them, give them some little comfort, certain allowances are created to cushion the effect of inflation. In the public sector, it is called cost of living adjustments allowance. Cost of living allowance to enable public servants adjust to the realities of inflation and the dwindling value of their earnings. So I have been in the ICPC for 20 years. And in those 20 years, we never got what is called cost of living adjustment or allowance, cost of living allowance. There were some other allowances. Other chairmen did their best to try and make us as comfortable as they possibly could do. But for the first time in my 20 years in the ICPC, the present chairman, Dr. Musa Adamu Aliyu, and his team secured for us from the federal government the cost of living adjustment allowance, which some other government ministries, departments, and agencies had been enjoying, which we did not enjoy. But we are grateful that this time we got it.
Okay.
And we're hoping that, like other public servants elsewhere, we will continue to get that to enable us adjust to the realities of the inflation and see how we can, along with other Nigerians, manage the financial stress we find ourselves.
All right, and I think that that's a great initiative to put forward for your staff to ensure that they have a better quality of living. But I want to also now wrap this up by piggybacking to a question my colleague asked earlier when he was asking about how the monies are being disbursed and the recovered monies. And I think that question is important because we've seen several scenarios in this country where we hear about recovered funds and the headlines of recovered funds and people not knowing what exactly has happened to the recovered funds. So is there an avenue where this information is made public for clarity and transparency?
The ICPC operates on the basis of transparency. Information approved that will not be sub judice, approved for public consumption, would always be on our website. As for where the money goes, I told you, all recoveries go into a recovery account. If there are further clarifications on this, rest assured that we will put it on our website and we will issue releases.
Okay. I just want to put up an image of politicians who recently have been allegedly involved in one form or the other of missing funds. And I'm sure you are aware. However, in most instances, we usually hear of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Oh, by the way, he was supposed to join this conversation, but he had something else to attend to very quickly. I'm talking about the media officer for EFCC. But I mean, since you're here, sir, that's why we need to push this question to you very quickly. What's the role of ICPC to ensure that the pictures in which you see there on the screen, they take active part? You take active part in ensuring that prosecution, is met, especially when there's proof, and you're also involved in ensuring that litigations or court cases are indeed followed through. We barely hear of the ICPC ensuring that they follow through, especially with high office holders. Why is that so?
Looking at the faces here, without prejudice to the matters surrounding these individuals, I will tell you that matters that come to the ICPC and the ones that the ICPC finds out on its own, we follow them, we follow through. We investigate, we gather our facts, and we go to the courts. Some of these matters are in court. And sometimes when we find out, even if a petition comes to the ICPC, and we find out that the same petition, because Nigerians are eager to see results. They are eager to see that justice is done. And sometimes the petition to practically every anti-corruption agency, including the police and what have you, when petitions come like that, and we find out that, oh, what we have had already been sent to the EFCC or other agencies, and they are working on it, we have an interagency collaboration in order not to waste government funds. It will be best sometimes to have a synergy where you coordinate your efforts, and if this agency is already handling it, you let the agency handle. We work together. So we do not necessarily have to be in front all the time. But for matters that come to us and we are handling, and if our sister agency finds out that we are handling, they let us handle. If we find out that we're handling before us, we let them handle. You cannot be running the same matter in two different courts. It wouldn't make sense. So there's a great synergy between the ICPC and other anti-corruption agencies, and matters that are within our purview, we follow them, we follow through, we try to see them to their logical conclusion. Some of them are in court, and the court processes are not as fast as we want them to be. But we are hoping that eventually cases will be dispensed with faster than they are now, when the challenges in the judiciary and our court systems are fixed. So otherwise, we work very well with our sister agencies.
All right. I want to say thank you so much for speaking with us, Head of Media and Public Communications of the ICPC, Mr. John Okor Odey. Thank you for your time. We look forward to speak with you again, and maybe by that time we'll also have the media spokesperson for the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission joining that conversation. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great morning.
Thank you for having me.